we're here tonight to obviously see through from Mental Health Awareness Week. Obviously, we were expected more tonight, but this hasn't going to be here. And I know I've received bios, but I thought we may as well go up and down the line, introduce yourselves, and unless it will take too long for me to just sit here and read, so may as well. So, over to you.
Ladies first?
Yeah, go on then. Go on, Sharon.
All right. My name is Sharon Chimello. I'm also known as Auntie Shazza when I help people, and that seems to help families, that name, that persona. I'm also known as S-Dog, which is my, my my skater dude name, to the teenagers that I work with. That was given to me by my son and his friends. And we had a big house in the park with the pool, and so we were like the hub of the group. And so all the teenagers would come to our place, and they would all, if they needed to come up to the kitchen or the bathroom, they'd kind of linger around me, and I'd know they had something to talk about. So that's when I first started counselling teenagers. But I've since done quite a lot of studies at a couple of colleges, and yes, I'm working with families predominantly. I do work with adults, but mostly with families. So that's my niche.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Philip?
I'm a retired person. So in order to save heat, I'm also an environmental scientist. I'm a heat scientist. So that's why I love to hang around with very hot women.
Straight to the point.
Straight to
Wait,
the
what kind of Zoom call is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
No, I'm a retired teacher, so I do a little bit of mathematics. I do one or two little things. I help people to become an author. So, and I work with two of my friends who owns a publishing company. So far we have helped about 15, 16 youngsters, say from age 3 to 17, to become published authors.
Great.
I've co-written a book 2 years ago with a 13-year-old who's now 15. He's now got 6 more books himself.
Wow.
My 12-year-old granddaughter written a book about 6 months ago, and we just in fact, actually,
Here's one we made earlier.
This actually just came today. So this my book I originally co with my granddaughter. It just came today. So that was unexpected.
That's great.
And also I've been interested in mental health for a long time, and this year will be my 56 years as a supporter for UNICEF. And also I'm a children's champion for them for
lovely.
193 countries. And that's it, really.
Wonderful.
Jeffrey?
So I'm Jeffrey Berger. I live in Southwest Florida, and I'm a humanitarian entrepreneur, and I'm actually an independent business owner with the first holistic mental wellness company that focuses on the microbiome, which is the gut-brain axis. And I'm really humbled to be associated with this company that is mission-based, and it really strives to create a holistic wellness platform that connects a purpose-driven community of passionate people. And it's played a huge role in my life in the last almost let's see 18 months. But there's a big stigma out there, as you know, over the years concerning mental illness, and it really is a pandemic, and it needs to be lifted. And things like this really engage us to educate the people that are out there to be more advocate and be more empathetic to people's situation rather than judging them, because you don't know what's going on the inside. And I've actually started an education and a guidance for people through online. I do a workshop on gut mind workshop on Saturdays from 12 to 1, teaching about the basics of the microbiome and the gut health and how important your gut is to mind wellness. Because I know in the States, and I haven't done enough due diligence outside of the United States, but over the last 40 to 50 years, our systems are just completely broken. And the illness that we have here is a result of the foods that we're eating that have chemical preservatives, as well as the pharmaceuticals that are being prescribed, like Skittles or candy on a daily basis. But I'm also a contributing author to, it's a book called It's Okay Not to Be Okay.
Yes.
And this is a collaboration of stories, of personal stories and journeys of, people who have had challenges. I come from a background where, to be transparent, I have no problem. I used to hide this for many, many years, but sexual abuse, rape, chemical dependency, 2 attempted suicides. So I'm out there sharing my story in hopes that others will resonate and know that it's okay not to be okay, but there is hope and there is vision, and there are tools out there that will allow you to get through the garbage that you're going through. And I also was privileged to be part of a meditation project, and it was the CD. It's a CD that's called Abundance, and my business actually is Abundance in Optimum Wellness. So it's all physical and mental wellness, from physical, mental, and financial wellness in all that aspect. And then in my actual track on that abundance is optimum or abundance and optimum health. So my goal here is really to make whatever impact I can at my late age, because I'm 65 years old. I worked in corporate America I just left in 2016 because it just didn't resonate with me. I wanted more purpose, I wanted more meaning, and I wanted to do something more philanthropical. So I found my tribe, I found my path, I found my passion, and I want to provide value. I want to provide direction and information to people who are really just sick and tired of being sick and tired and looking for other options out there. Because on this side of the ocean here, we are all taught about pharmaceuticals. That's all they know. And on top of my past, I'm also a survivor. I reversed my type 2 diabetes. I've lost 60 pounds, and I'm on a whole holistic journey in regards to health and wellness, because we're being given information that is incorrect, and we're being told that this is the way you have to live, and it's not the way that we have to live.
No.
So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. Over to Alan.
Okay, Alan Stevens. I'm what's known as a profiling and communication specialist. What I do is I help people to recognize other people's personalities and their emotions. So your facial features tell me your personality, and then your body language and expressions then tell me your emotions. Put it all together, you've got someone's character fairly quickly. That's what I do in my traditional business. It's all about helping everything from large corporates like Disney Films, Gillette, the Australian Federal Police, right through to all sizes of businesses, plus also helping parents to understand their children and teaching teachers how to read the children more effectively so the kids don't fall through the cracks. We're over-diagnosing our kids and very quick to put them on medication, which fits them into the system because the system's flawed. It's only there for the average, the normal group of kids in the middle. Everybody else at the top end and the bottom end get left out. So that's where I come in with the schools, teaching them so that they understand the kids, they don't fall through the cracks. On the other side, I created the hashtag We Together and the Campfire Project. And that's a safe place on Facebook that allows, originally it was for men to be able to come in and give themselves permission to tell their stories. Because if you ask most men, they had no idea what their role in the family was. They had no idea what their role in the business was because of all the political correctness and all the quotas that everyone were after. And it caused a lot of emotional and mental health issues when we pushed the political correctness side of things. And so, but I've had women in there from day one for 2 reasons. One, to see whether the women would respect the men telling those stories. At the same time as well, for the women to be able to hear men talk when they do open up and see what it was like. We had panel discussions and we talked about all sorts of things, pornography, sexuality of all sorts, femininity, masculinity, all those sides of things. And at the same time, the women were sending me personal messages saying, never heard men talk this way before. We love it. When can we join in the conversations? So it was always planned from the beginning that the women would be invited in at some stage. So they became one-on-one conversations with me. It then led into joint panel discussions. And it's been growing quite effectively. So my whole role about things, I'm looking at my past, what I've been through as well. But it's a case of, boys had no rite of passage anymore. We've lost that. So we needed that for the boys to come through. At the same time, women needed to understand what the men go through in those processes. And together is the only way we solve problems. Me Too and Men Too, when they came out, both had their place in fixing problems at the time. But the solutions they create today become the problems of tomorrow. But it's only when we work together that we solve problems and we keep moving forward. So that was a reason for the We Together hashtag and the Campfire Project. And that's me.
Great.
Absolutely.
So Adam, are you going to come to full disclosure here that you really brought us on board because Alan is going to read us today?
Sorry, you've already been read.
I know that. I'm sitting here going, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Hey, I've been read 1,000 times. Read me 1,001.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. So go ahead. Sorry.
I know, but yeah, obviously we've come here today because mental health is a massive stigma these days. I fell through the cracks when I was growing up. I was abused. I've attempted suicide several times, and I'm still here breathing. I'm living proof that there is hope out there, there is belief out there, and there is a way to turn your life around.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going off one question, which I've actually picked up from Jeffrey's post from a few hours ago. The difference between mental, physical and mental health?
Yeah, so it actually is, the question that I posed was, what comes first in your opinion, mental health or physical health, and why?
Yeah, see, my opinion. Yeah. Go on, Phil.
Well, also in thinking about this evening, so I just came, and partly was just now, I just come up with 5 main areas. Obviously, Jeffrey mentioned about nutrition. I've been involved in that very much, the guts, and also the lots of problems that stems from the gut, the disease. You've got not a very healthy gut, or you've got a very poor gut flora. That leads to all sorts of stuff. And also since when the pill was first introduced, it did its job. However, what people didn't realize then, it actually compromised the immune system of the gut of the women, and suggestive women just pass on that weakened immune system to the next generation. Hence, there's an explosion of all sorts of things since probably about 60s. There's also things that we wouldn't have seen in the past that exploded from the 60s onwards. So nutrition is a very neglected area, nutrition, and with the oncoming of the fast food and so on, and so that's one element. The second one, obviously, in terms of culture and upbringing, because again, there's sort of a stereotype for traditional, the do's and don'ts in some traditions. Women can only do this, men must do this, which actually is false. And also the paradox is like in the Chinese culture, the strength and the weaknesses. The Chinese culture is very good in terms of obedience. The weakness is actually if you actually follow the wrong advice or the wrong leader, and basically you're following the wrong type of obedience. You become very subservient, or for the opposite reason, you actually following the wrong leaders, as it were. So the second thing is obviously culture and upbringing. The third is education, of course, and obviously some society and culture depress this education of particular girls and women. And I think you've got people like the Taliban; they're scared of women being educated. More than the bullets. The fourth area obviously is since the oncoming of the internet, the social media now is taking another dimension.
Mm.
And again, it's creating its own stereotype image, and with reality TV and so on. You know, it's shaping the thinking with obviously the also single parents and the lack of leadership in the home. The reality TV is now taking its role. So there's a lot of our youngsters actually got no role models, and they just think what they see on reality TV is the norm.
Mm.
And finally, the fifth area is the about advice, communication, and having a role model or the lack of role models.
Mm.
So those are the areas that I'm sure all of us has been doing in different ways in our respective professional and personal thing. And those are the areas I've been involved in very much, over the past 57 years. Yeah. Okay, over to the rest of you.
Awesome.
Okay. One of the things that I noticed was, there was a lot of coaches around me who would say that everything is emotionally based. And I had a little bit of a problem with that because, I use the analysis. Well, say if I was walking outside, I was in a building, I came out the front door, and there's somebody working above, and they dropped something. Where were my emotions in that? If it hits me on the head, I'm going to end up with a physical injury. So it's not always emotional, but more than likely it's going to be an emotional cause, because we're, as Philip said, all those things around us, we've got all those pressures on us. So our mind is always going 24/7, and the unconscious mind's always active. So with that, we're going to feel all of that. But there's also going to be some situations where it's physical. And one of the things I found was all the coaches, because technology has been the fastest growing industry on the planet. And we're more connected with devices than we've ever been connected before, but we are less connected to ourselves and to each other than we've ever been before. So the fastest growing industry was technology. So therefore the second fastest industry coming out of that was coaching. And everybody becomes a coach. Everyone wants to coach everybody else. And quite often they're not working on their stuff. They're trying to work on other people's stuff and become better, fix their own in that process. So we had a lot of people doing one-day courses or weekend courses, becoming NLP practitioners and all sorts of things. And so everybody got on the bandwagon, and all of a sudden everyone's saying everything is emotionally based, because that's what they were taught. They haven't sat and reasoned it out. And I just thought, well, I have walked along the road, not seen something. What was it? Thoughts were somewhere else, and I was walking straight along, or whatever surface I was on is given way. And you can do your ankle in. Well, that becomes a physical injury, not caused by your emotional state, because you can't see through what's on the ground. It might have just been the grass and you've slipped into a bit of a hollow. So there's always going to be the physical aspect. But as Philip said, there's all that emotional thoughts and everything else going on. We've got no rite of passage for boys anymore. We've got boys that, we've got to have all these quotas in business, with number of women in business and everything else. So men are being dislodged. There have been some jobs advertised where it was stated, if you're a white male, then there was no place there for you. Don't apply. It was only for Indigenous people and for women. And so the men start pulling back, because women have got three roles. They raise the families, or they create life, I should say, and they can then raise the families. They can work full time, or they can do a combination of both of those. So they've got three options. Whereas men have only got, we've got three options: earn the money, and earn the money. Now, if we don't have a job, where's our self-worth? And so now we've got all these boys with no idea of what they should be doing or what they can be doing. And so they're competing in a society where there's no role models. 50% of families don't have a man in there. He's either emotionally absent because he's at work trying to earn money to pay, buy everything the family needs at the same time, or otherwise they're just totally absent altogether, broken marriages. And there's no male role models. So this is where the boys then have that issue. But at the same time, girls are also affected when there's no male there as well. And so it's affecting both. But boys more than anyone else. And that's where we're seeing most of the mental health issues and the highest rate of suicide. In Australia, we lose 8 people to suicide every day. 6 of those out of the 8 are males. In India, it's for every one woman who takes a life, there's 9 men who take their life. So we have this major issue, and it's around what we're expected, to provide for ourselves. Everyone wants plasma TVs. We want all the things there, the importance. We've lost the family values. We've lost what's really important. I know when I started working, and I had my boys and everything else, I put as many hours in as I could. We bought a house, we had to renovate it, so I just put everything in I could to, bring the money in to be able to do everything we needed. And I started becoming absent.
I remember, obviously it was January last year, and I was actually doing a group counselling course, which I found really difficult. And I went to go and see my GP about something, and he asked me, how's your group session going? I'm like, well, they're really hard. I don't know what to do, how to cope with it. And he went, well, why are you doing it then? And that's coming from a professional GP. So I just didn't know what to think. I couldn't react to anything. So that was not just having a psychological, emotional, but it was actually having a physical effect on me. But this is why 2 months later, I attempted suicide.
See, and that would have been a completely different response if the question had been, same thing could have been asked, but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Because that was more a negative way. Well, why are you doing it? Why are you bothering to do it? What mistake did you make here? Whereas instead of asking, well, tell us what interested you in the thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Taking it from the positive side. So,
Yeah.
the language we use just has massive impact.
That reminds me, Adam, of when I went to my doctor. And for those who doesn't know what the A1C is,
No
the A1C is a blood test. So when you get your blood drawn, it's a marker to determine if you're diabetic or not. And last January, I went into my doctor and I said, I want to get my A1C down to 5.0. And it was up at 12. And anything below 5.3 is you're non-diabetic. Okay, so I said to my doctor, I want to get my A1C down to 5.0. And her response was, well, why do you want to do that?
Exactly.
It's like, and it's just the same thing with you. Well, why are you doing that? It's like, hello, because in my head, it was my dad died of diabetes, heart disease, leg amputation. A couple years later, his sister did. And then a couple years later, his youngest brother did. I was next in line, according to what the doctor said, is that's your family history, diabetes, and I was not ready to be another statistic because I'm following Western medicine's protocol of just managing instead of getting to the root of the cause, which 1000%, it's all revolved around food. Now that's type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is different. But type 2 diabetes, it was all food related.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a great. Jeffrey, that's a great point in terms of food. This morning was a program actually it was a cookery program, and there was a doctor on there, and he said in the he has the average doctor in the UK have between 5 and 10 hours of training in nutrition.
That's right.
Wow.
So we assume when we label GPs, doctors, we have a certain perception what they should know, but in reality, their training takes them only down one particular path, and often that path is dictated by pharmaceutical companies.
That's right.
So
right.
I'm very conscious of the labeling. That seems to be growing in the last 20, 30 years in different things. And that labeling, for whatever reason, because ADHD and autistic or whatever, that actually is obscuring the right message. Rather than say everyone's unique, it's the same loaf, different slices. We see the same thing, or look at the same thing, but we see different aspects of that thing. And that's just, that should be accepted, not saying we must all see the same thing.
Right. I think, and the more that I got in control of my own health, because that's when I said to her, I said, as of this moment, I'm taking 100% control of my health. Either you're going to work with me or not. And as I was doing my research, I found that the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, they're the ones who put the medical system together over here in collaboration with pharmaceuticals, the FDA, and the government.
Mm.
And these companies over here are testing preservatives, chemicals that they put into food that they're addictive. They make sure that they're
Yeah.
addictive, so people are addicted to it. And so with that, Monsanto, I'm sure you know Monsanto, they created Roundup, and in Roundup is the chemical called glyphosate.
Yeah.
And in 1974, they patented it as an antibiotic, and that's when they started to inject it into the genes of corn and soy, and to ward off the insects. And whatever the insects didn't eat, who ate it? We did.
Yeah.
So, and I think back to the 70s when I was just a teenager, looking at my grandparents and my friends' grandparents, and they're coming down to Florida, and they were traveling, and they're having a good retirement. But now I'm in God's waiting room down here, and mostly everybody down here, they're in the waiting rooms of doctors, not enjoying their retirement.
Yeah.
And I look at the cases of autism and ADHD throughout those years. We didn't have that when I was a kid.
No.
And it just makes so much more sense. And the thing is that I found articles that the FDA and Big Pharma and the government and these 1%ers know that these are dangerous to our health because it gets people reliant on pharmaceuticals. I was going on to my 5th drug for diabetes. It's like, wait, I should be getting better. Why aren't I not getting better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know a number of the people listening to this would probably be thinking, some of them would be going, with these conspiracy theories. But just all you got to do is stop and think, well, pharmacy companies they're in business to make money.
Right.
So to make money, you have to have clients. They don't want you dead, but at the same time, they need you to be sick. They don't want you to be totally healthy.
Yeah.
So this is, if you're looking at your pharmaceutical companies really caring about you, they do care about you to the point they don't want you dead, but they don't care about you to be totally healthy. So that's always going to be the case. And we know that the GPs, they get their information from the pharmaceutical companies about those drugs. Right. So they're being led by the pharmaceutical companies. So it's impossible to get away from the fact that, the pharmaceutical drugs are not going to be there to make you fully healthy. And as you said, Jeffrey, you're on a medication, then you have to have another medication to take care of the side effects of the first medication. Yeah. Then you need another one to take care of the side effects of that. Now, I've seen people sit there, and actually one of the ladies I interviewed the other day, Julie Watson, she's had 2 kidney transplants. The first one failed, the second one is taken. She's had a whole mass of other things wrong. And when I first had her on air, just before we started, she was popping pill after pill. And she showed me a handful of these pills. She said, I've been doing this for 20-something years. The amount of drugs that have been through her system. And, yes, she needs those to stay alive. But as you said, it's to stay alive. It's not to actually get healthy. There is nothing out there working on that. At the same time, the second place that we get most of our drugs from are our thoughts. Every thought we have creates a chemical reaction, and those chemical reactions. Right. So when I was back as a massage therapist working with people, I worked on both their mental health as well as their physical health. And I knew that if you have a particular thought, say anger, for instance, it's going to go to a different organ of the body. Resentment usually hits the kidneys. Anger, usually the liver. And I get doctors saying, well, that's a load of rubbish. And I go, right, well, I came in here with a particular complaint. So I went in there with a liver complaint. Do you give me a pill for my thyroid? Do you give me a pill for my kidneys? Or do you give me one for my liver, the liver problem I've got? Oh, it'd be for the liver. And I go, well, why don't you give me a pill for the others? Oh, because they don't work on that organ. I said, so you're telling me that different chemicals in these pills work on different organs? And they go, yeah. And I said, every thought you have creates a chemical reaction. So is it obvious then that the thoughts you have are going to affect the different organs of your body?
Actually, there's a for interest. Oh, sorry. No, Sharon, please. Sorry.
Sorry? Oh, okay.
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead, Sharon. Sorry.
All right. Well, one of the things I notice with children is when we go to lunch, to the first break. So you'll have children who are perfectly able to concentrate and remain on task for the morning, and there are those who don't or who can't. And then after that first break, you can put money on which kids will come back high as kites. And you can also wander the playground and notice in their lunch boxes what they're eating. And I find myself constantly saying, darling, ask mum if you can have some fruit tomorrow, or, you know, ask mum if you can have a nice salad sandwich tomorrow. And this just, you know, a little bit of subtle hinting and passive aggressive, and you know, so we talk in class about what they're eating, but it comes back to, you know, what mum or dad is putting in the lunchbox. But you can see a definite change in their behavior. So whenever anybody says to me, you know, that link isn't strong, you know, I say to them, come to my playground and see, you know. And the other thing I was going to say is, you know how you put up those posts on your page in the bold with the coloured background, and you know, if you get sort of 20 likes, you think, oh, I've hit the nail on the head. If you get 100 likes, you think, wow, this is really resonating with people. The most popular post I ever put up was just as simple as, anxiety and depression are based on our chemicals, but we make the chemicals. And it caused such a, you know, there were people for and against. There were people who were concerned that I was belittling, you know, anxiety and depression. And I had to fess up, you know, and say, look, I've been there. I've had a very long journey with anxiety and depression. And I now know how much of it is caused by what we're eating and what we're doing, what actions we're taking, whether we're you know, self-sabotaging, or whether we're taking action, positive action to change our life. So that caused quite a fuss. And for those who, like ourselves, are more in tune with what's going on with gut health, and is it 85% of the brain chemicals are made in the gut, something to that effect, Jeffrey?
Around 80% of your neurotransmitters are made in your gut. And I just want to make one comment in regards to what you just said in regards to anxiety, depression. Because in my journey, my anxiety and my stress were way above a 10 plus for years and years and years. Excuse me. And depression was there. Suicidal thoughts were there. But no attempts after my 30s, because I attempted twice in my 20s. But getting my gut clean and understanding the importance of the foods and the natural processes of what these plants do, my anxiety and stress is below a 2. It's very, very manageable. And I have absolutely no depression whatsoever. It's all gone. And I'm like, oh my God. It's just amazing. Those little small changes have a dramatic impact on, you know, your mood. And I really get heartbroken when I hear people in different groups, this drug isn't working. What drug is working for you? If drugs aren't working for you, you think a little bit about getting outside of the box and thinking about something different to try. Because we're getting off of their medications by teaching them how to heal their gut and you know, treat it right. Philip.
When Sharon was saying there a moment ago that you know, people responded in different ways, what's that, gut and psychology syndromes? It definitely connected. So when those people looked at, you know, the ones who sort of clashed with it, you got to ask yourself, where were they coming from? What were they actually thinking at the time? Were they looking at the overall effect, or were they looking at something specific? Were they taking the, what do you call it, the comment of being, sorry, I keep looking at the colours coming up on the screen there.
Same author.
Very good.
So, what I was going to say. So some people looking at it from when you talk about drug chemicals, they're thinking about the pharmaceuticals. when you were talking about it, I was thinking about the light. You know, as Jeffrey was saying, I'm thinking about the fact that, yes, these are the thoughts that are coming, but at the same time, we've got the chemicals out there as well.
Yeah.
When you were taking that time to research, Jeffrey, your thoughts as well were changed. So not only were you changing the chemicals going into your body, you were changing the chemicals that were going through your brain as well, the ones that you were producing. And it doesn't matter where the stuff really starts. It's going to go through the blood supply, and everything goes through the brain. And so I remember
the other thing though, too, Alan, is I want to share that when I was doing my research, we have, in essence, and the numbers alter from time to time depending on where you get the scientific research, but it's estimated we have 360 trillion viruses in our body. We have 60 trillion microorganisms in our body, and we have 6 trillion human cells in our body. Each of these entities create their own chemicals to live synergistically together. And I say that each of our organs are an instrument, and they play individually for certain things, but then they all play together to create this amazing symphony to work together. And when you start introducing man-made chemicals into something that we should be producing ourselves, then you start that disruption, and that symphony becomes a disaster.
It's very interesting that the book I was showing just now is done by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. One of her children was autistic. Now she is qualified in nutrition, and so she took out 4 years of research, and she discovered the cure for autism. And this is over about 20 years ago. Since then, she's been teaching doctors and other people. And she discovered by changing the diet, that took over 3 or 4 years, it made a difference between 60 to 100% improvement in autism and other related things. You know, I just firmly believe if we can get the nutrition right, we could probably halve the problems in lots of different areas. That's my personal thing. It's interesting, about 15, 20 years ago, there was a meeting, and the vice president of a Fred Big drugs company said they know of the drugs that they produce, they know only 40% of it works, and only on 40% of the population. But what they don't know is which 40% work and which 40% of the population works. So it's a little bit hit and miss. So, and my thinking, well, if you know only 40% of your drugs work, therefore, what is the other 60% of drugs doing to us? You know, how is it changing us for the worse? Yeah, and
it's damaging us.
Yeah, exactly. So, as Alan said, you know, it's not in their interest to actually prevent a problem. They just want to sell the treatment to perpetuate that growth in the money, basically.
See, I was growing up, and I was probably addictive to medication. I used to go to GP every month, getting back-to-back prescriptions, ibuprofen, paracetamol, the lot, and I got addicted to it. So then one day I went and asked him, well, I need some antidepressants, I need some sleeping tablets, I'm struggling. He turned around and said, no. And I'm actually glad he said that, because now I've not taken a single tablet in about 2.5 years.
Wow, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Because I know growing up, I was in and out of hospital every 6 months because I was that ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, those of us who live with families, my mother's on 27 medications a day. And those of us who have families or loved ones who are going through this, we understand, and a lot of people just don't. And it's sad, but it's a reality. So
it is. It is. It
The
is.
GP in the UK, any problem, here's a prescription, antibiotics, or you know, here's a pill. Then that's it. You know.
Yeah.
They're not taught how to get to the root of the cause. They're not getting to the root of the cause. They're putting Band-Aids on, and they just keep putting Band-Aids after Band-Aid after Band-Aid.
Yeah. As Sharon said, you know, I'm as a former teacher, you know, I can see everything in the playgrounds. You say, knowing what the lunch is going to be, you can predict in the afternoon, they're going to be hyper or whatever, you know.
I
Yes, so-
think though we have to be just a little bit careful when we do talk about the autism spectrum, because I don't know that it's something that that we can cure as such. I think though that diet does definitely affect children on the spectrum, definitely.
Are you
we can help.
Are you guys aware of the Microbiome Project at all?
No.
So all right, I'll get some information off to you, but there is a Microbiome Project that started in 2006. In the last 4 to 5 years, they have been producing and publishing their science research and their clinical studies.
Good.
What they have found is that there are specific strains within the species of the genome of the microorganism or the probiotic that addresses certain gut ailments and brain ailments, whatever the case may be, and that the gut and the brain are intrinsically synergistic together, and there's a huge correlation between them. And this is what they're discovering, is that through these reports and the clinical studies, because how far we've come in regards to science research and the technologies that we have, we're only scratching the surface, because they're saying there are studies out there with the microbiome and Alzheimer's, the microbiome and Parkinson's disease and dementia and autism, every disease out there, even cystic fibrosis. There are studies out there now with the microorganisms, because each organ has its own microbiome, just like the earth does. The earth has its own microbiome because the plants live off of microorganisms, which then we eat because we need those plant-based chemicals to our microorganisms as well. Very interesting science.
Yes, so I ask, 6 months ago, the UK government, they pumped £50 million into the mental health services. And they're about to do it within the next couple of months. Do it again, same figure. What difference have you seen? Because I've seen nothing. I've seen literally only suicide rates have increased massively. Self-harm, including young teenagers, when they're growing up to self-harm. There's no support, especially for men.
If you look at every area like cancer, they keep saying so the survival rate is longer. But if you look at the number of cancer patients, it's growing every year. It's increasing every year, and it's coming back. It's not tackling the root problem, and therefore it doesn't matter how much money you pump into that. It will never win if we don't address the root problem. And but obviously the people who really pull the strings are not the government. It's whoever their advisors are, who are being influenced by the paymasters.
It always comes down to what's the thing that's got their attention at the time. And as you said, it's never the root cause. It's always the symptom. We're great at working on symptoms. That's what our medications are all about. We have a symptom, so we get a medication for that. We've got kids falling through the cracks. We're committing suicide. So we then bring a counsellor in to try and work on their stuff. I was part of a group here in Newcastle, Australia, many years ago, about more than 20 years ago now. It was a group that was called the Hunter Star Foundation. We were creating a not-for-profit organisation that would work with kids before they crashed and burnt. The government would not give us tax relief as a not-for-profit organisation because the kids hadn't crashed and burnt first. If they once they've crashed and burnt, you can get the what they call the tax exemptions, but we couldn't get it while we were working with kids before they crashed and burnt. They said, well, that doesn't fit our criteria. So it just proves that over and over we just look at working on symptoms. Back in 2016, I just come back from London from the Star Wars launch over there where I was working, and came back to Australia, sat with the head psychologist for New South Wales Education. And she said, Alan, everything you're telling us, all the stats are absolutely true. We're going backwards, but we're going to continue doing what we've always done, because sooner or later we expect to get a different result. Now, we know about that one. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always
sooner or
done.
later.
And to think that you can change that is a sign of insanity. And this was a head psychologist for New South Wales Education. And I just realised that They're only working on when there's a problem. We rush over there, we put all our money into that, and we fix that symptom. Then we rush over here and fix another one. We had all the political correctness coming out, causing us to focus on different areas. And next thing you know, that caused a problem. Like we look at Me Too, when that started, it was there, it had a necessary thing, which was to fix the problems that the abuse against women. But then some of the women then abused that and put in false allegations. So in 2018, the Men Too movement had to start. So all we do is just rush from one symptom to another, and we never fix it. As I said, with the We Together movement, that's all about us working together. It should be also looking at our health. It's not just our physical health and our mental health. It's not only the foods we're putting in, it's the thoughts we're having. Because if we change the foods that we're bringing in, we're changing the thoughts that we're having as well, because we started focusing on our health. That's going to have an impact. Everything is connected. As I say, we're the sum of all of our experiences. And all
the other thing I'm concerned with, the other thing I'm concerned is having the government system, which wherever country, obviously I can only talk about UK. As one of my friends, after lots of help, was just starting to make the breakthrough at age late 17. But then the moment she turned 18, because she's 18, she's now out of the system. That means then she was just about to make this breakthrough, and then the support is then all of a sudden disappear. Because she turned 18. So we have although it's good to have a system, but when you don't have a flexible system, therefore effectively all that work and effort and money gone into that, helping that person, is just about to make breakthrough, but then the moment she turned 18, then that's gone. So all the support is just disappeared, and she's gone back to step one.
It's the same over here, Philip, because I have twin nephews. One just is out of his 9th heroin addiction rehab. His twin brother is bipolar, ADHD, and he's been in and out of facilities, and he's now at the point where he's attempted suicide and lots of heavy thoughts in suicide. He gets into these facilities and he's released like the next day or two, and these professionals are saying, oh, he's not suicide, he won't commit suicide. But then he gets released, and then he goes home, and then he runs away, and then he's got to be found by the police because he's going to go off to a mountaintop and just die. And I'm like, the system is just it's broken everywhere, I think. Talking to people, I know what we've talked a couple times, and now you're confirming it, Philip. And I don't know what Australia's like, Alan, but
pretty much the same. It's the whole thing is that we set a benchmark. This is where we get to a person to this point, we've cured them. Hasn't fixed the problem, but it's because it said the systems are not flexible, and the systems have benchmarks and they have KPIs. As soon as the KPI is reached, then we forget about it after that. So we're not looking at the individual, looking at the stats and everything, because governments want to appear that they're doing the right thing, because let's face it, a politician's job, they have 2 jobs. Number 1 is to get into power, and once they're in, number 2 is to stay in power. So they do everything for public opinion, which necessarily is not the right thing for the public. Right. It's the same thing with any of us. When you look at any area you're in, you have a priority. Now you've got to ask yourself, is that priority good for everybody, or is it just good for the reputation that I've got, perceived that I'll keep my position or whatever it might be?
It's their own agenda. They're out for their own.
I'm going to add to that, Alan. It is. You're right. It's about the power. But the third one is to try and get as much money as they can off the taxpayers. Because here in the UK, because of this lockdown, everyone, like journalists, a lot, they're all taking pay cuts just as lockdown. But the MPs, they're getting an extra £150,000 pay rise because of this. And I think that's absolutely disgusting, because some of that money could be funded to
breaking up.
Yeah, we're losing you there, Adam.
Adam's it's frozen.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my friends who suffered from schizophrenia, and when her GP retired, and then she had a 6 months consultation with a review every 6 months. But after that time, she had a different consultant every 6 months.
Yeah.
So since then haven't got that continuity. And then when the consultant actually reading her notes, they're literally trying to read another colleague's writing. Now, if you've seen some of the GP's writing, and I'm a teacher, I'm pretty used to reading bad handwriting. But sometimes when I looked at the GP note, I thought, this is like Chinese or Russian. You can't, Martian, you can't just scribble. And how can another person even read the notes? And they only got maybe something like 5 minutes of reading to try and catch up on the case history.
Yeah.
And this been a huge problem. So when the system was changed, I think about 20 years ago, where people have mental issue, they don't always have the continuity of someone taking their case throughout a different time. So they keep treating you social workers, you advisors, you. So that consistency is gone, and that itself just basically doesn't make any progress at all.
So we're not making the individual the focus. If we made the individual the focus, then we'd have continuity. But we're looking at the stats. If this is my particular area, I've got to have the best stats. So we focus on the stats, then we can pass that person on. As Jeffrey had said, you get to a certain age and then you're out of the system. You're lost and it moves on. So the end result is we just need to start focusing on the individual, make them the center of the world. And that's how we'll get results. Forget about the things that are around them, the different groups. Every group's got a responsibility, but their responsibility should not just be to meet their KPIs, but it should be to make sure there's continuity with the handovers. We'd be looking after people a lot better.
I don't know what it's like over where in England, in Australia, but here in the United States, certain practices and in group practices, the patient has anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes with the doctor. Then it's next. So
it is here. It's like that here. Obviously, they used to see people for about 5-10 minutes, but now they've been ordered by the government to increase it to 15 minutes per patient.
But I think this is where life coaches can be helpful. And I understand Alan's criticism about some of the life coaches that have just done a weekend course, but I'm really pleased to see the increase in life coaching. I mean, even someone who's done a weekend NLP course can probably help a few mates, whether they set themselves up in business is another ball game. But I think we had a teenage boy here that I was working with who, ended up in hospital and with an overdose. And I think it was 6 weeks before, he had, it was a long time. It was very frustrating that he didn't get counselling for quite some time, So, I think we need to I think the whole mental health system is improving. Here we are sitting having a panel discussion about it, and we have football players coming out and saying that they've had mental health issues or drug abuse issues. I think we have to be very careful with the autism spectrum, with the labelling, and be careful that it's a condition rather than an illness.
Yes.
But it certainly can be helped with diet and exercise too. I think we haven't focused enough on exercise, and we've got. I'm actually sitting here in the teenage boys' room. He's at his mother's, and I'm on the gaming chair with the some battle game in the background, and that's Star Wars, that one, that's okay, but there's posters of various games, and my own son at 23 is still gaming a lot, and so is his partner at 23. My daughter, who's studying psychology, is still spending a lot of her spare time on gaming. My kids do go out and go hiking and that sort of thing, but a lot of kids don't. And I think this comes back to what Alan was saying about our suicide rate among young men here. Our biggest age bracket is 15 to 45. And I think we need to do studies to see how many of them are spending their time indoors gaming, when in our day, we love to say that, but in our day, they'd be out playing football or, you know, or cricket or, so we've lost a lot of team sports, and we've lost a lot of physical activity. The first thing I do with my clients is get them exercising and then look at the diet. And coming back to the question about, you know, the interrelationship between, well, which came first, the physical or the mental, the first thing I do is get them exercising, moving.
Yeah, some activity.
Personally,
yeah. So when, as you said, first of all, the gaming side of things. Yeah, there's a lot of addiction to the gaming. They spend a lot of time doing there, but at the same time, there's some great conversations coming out, because some of those games, even some of them like Warcraft and things like that. Yeah. That if you sit down, there's strategies and things. They're actually using their mind in that way. So there's advantages in everything. It's the too much of one thing is bad. So it's movement. Get them up and moving. Now they need the combination of all this stuff, but they also need the connection to each other again as well. Yeah. With autism, with my profiling, I know that there's a lot of profiling out there, like DISC, Myers-Briggs, where you put people in boxes. 7.7 billion people on the planet, and you whack them into something like 16 different boxes. It's like the horoscopes. And so the end result is you've got all these people feeling that they're put in a box. They don't feel that they belong. They've got all these people around them in the same box that aren't the same as them. They know the difference. And then at the same time, you also have they're locked in there. So I just come along, and with my profiling, I take them out of the box and teach them as an individual. And because treating them as an individual, when we come to kids with autism and Asperger's, I'm looking for the strengths in everybody. And I tell you what, in everybody I've worked with, everyone's got a gift that nobody else has. We're all uniquely different. So when I look at autism, I'm looking at an Asperger's and all of those things. I'm looking at where's their strength. Find out where their strength is. Talk to their strength. Change their environment changes, they're not triggered as much as they were before. You can reduce the medication. I've got one boy I profiled when he was 6 years old with Asperger's. He's now getting on to 16 years old. His mother's still writing testimonials for me, and all I did was a one profile back 10 years ago. And we changed the way they were talking to him, and it automatically changed his life. They reduced his medication. So she's also done the same as what Jeffery was talking about, talk about the food and everything else. So she's done a lot of research and brought in all these other areas as well.
Great.
So treating the boy as an individual and everything else became things focused on him, not him focused on everything else. So it wasn't these other things, I'll do this and then we'll do this. No, what was the synergy between them? If this worked, then bring that in. How did that actually work with it? So when you do that, the individual then becomes the main focus. And when you put the individual as the main focus, then you get changes.
That's so important, so important. And I'm over here in the States, I'm getting away from the use of the word or the verbiage mental illness. It's mental health, it's mental wellness. And people are living with autism. They're living with attention deficit disorder. They're living with this. And that way it lessens that impact of mental type of thing. And I wanted to say one more thing about, we talk about life coaches, because I was a software engineer for 20 some odd years. And I left that industry because I wanted, as I said, more purpose. And I found my niche. Mental wellness is the new physical health, because if you don't have your mental health up, then you're not going to be mentally well to go physically work out, which I found out through my own experience. And that's my testimonial. But I've been looking for things to get certified in, because I don't have any I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a nurse practitioner or anything like that. But I've been fortunate to come across and be introduced to a program where I'm actually getting certified in health and integrative wellness. And this is a certification program that is recognized by the International Coach Federation. This is a world-renowned federation that if your program is accredited by this organization, it's highly respected. So for those who are listening and are looking to get some type of health coaching or life coaching, you know, because you can go out and get a life coach certificate for $20. Not that I'm knocking that down at all, because at least it's a step to getting some type of
Mm.
education in regards to that.
Mm.
But you know, just be careful on who you're taking it from and what the
Yeah.
qualifications are.
Yeah, just
I
look at
agree
what
with-
I've done.
Yeah. I
Just
agree
look
with
what
you.
I've done.
Go
Go on,
ahead.
Alan. Go on, Alan.
You're telling me to go ahead. I'm telling you to go ahead. Okay. Well, as Sharon said, you know, you're happy that there's more coaches. So am I. But we've got to make sure that they're doing it for the right reason.
Yes.
If they're
Yeah.
doing it because they want to fix themselves, then totally wrong. They're focused on them. They're not focused on the other person.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter about the accreditation. I've actually knocked back a couple of people from training that came from the ICF because they go through a great training, but they still didn't work on their own stuff. Their focus was on
Yes.
them. So if you find a coach, if they start, and this is one of the things that really knocked me recently, the new stat is that it takes about 70 seconds from you starting to tell your story to a coach, that the average is 70 seconds before they start giving you advice. There's no way that they can know your story in that period of time. My sons asked me, they said, you ask a lot of questions. And I go, yep. And they said, what do you do when you've asked all your questions? I said, I guarantee there'll be more questions.
Yeah.
Mm.
I want to get in as deep as possibly as I can to find out everything that's going on, so I fully understand that person. And then when I think I've got it right, I then turn around and I go, well, what I heard from you was this. Have I got this right? I re-qualify it. When they say, yes, you've got it, I go, okay, now. And then I can start giving some advice. But I'll make sure I've got it first. And that's what I always look at. This is my recommendation to anybody, if you take on a coach and they don't ask you a lot of questions, then walk away. They're there for themselves.
Yeah.
They'll be the ones who will start giving you advice because,
Mm.
well, if you think about empathy, we have cognitive empathy, understanding that somebody's in pain, we can see it. Then we have emotional empathy, where we can feel their pain. And then we have the compassionate empathy, where we fix the problem. So I can see your pain, I can feel your pain, but hey, let's get this thing fixed.
Yeah.
So those that get caught up in emotional empathy, they then become the problem, because I don't like the way, I can feel what you're going through and I don't like feeling it. So I've got to get this fixed so I feel better. I have to get this fixed. No, not because of me. I want to go to compassionate, go, I can see it, I can feel it, I don't want to feel it, but hey, let's look at how we can fix this. Your problem, not get me to feel better, but I don't want to feel your pain anymore. So a lot of the coaches are out there start jumping in because they don't want to feel the pain. They're not focused on the individual, they're focused on themselves.
Great information, Alan. Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Fabulous.
that's one thing I
Absolutely.
always look at.
Yeah, because I'm the type of person that is willing to put somebody else's mental well-being over my own. And I know some people who will be watching thinking, you selfish. I'm not going to say the swear word, but yeah, people know what I'm talking about. But I don't care, because I have brought myself up to believe people come first.
Yeah.
Because I'm a people person. And obviously I've now learned that it doesn't matter what book you buy or read, doesn't matter how much hours research you do or how many doctors or psychologists you see, the best person to know their own mental well-being is themselves.
Yeah.
Well
When I
said.
worked with people, they would come back to me and they'd, as a massage therapist, I worked with NLP. I'd take somebody through a process. I'd then put them on the table and massage them. I'd use color, I'd use sound, I'd use different aromatherapies and everything else. And I had people who had different conditions. They were on, what I call a terminal list for cancer and things like that. And I noticed that they was going to Visionary Health, which is a place here in Newcastle, a health store, where they were picking up their different remedies. And some of them were coming back and they were reversing their conditions. And I realized at that point, yes, it was what they were ingesting. It's what was going on between their ears as well. And so in that process, I learned a lot more about them. But they would then walk away and they go, oh, I feel great now. And I go, okay, you've healed yourself. And people were saying, but that's not good for your business, because everyone's going out there saying, oh, I healed myself. And I'm going, well, I'm a facilitator. I'm not a healer. My Aboriginal brothers call me a healer. And I go, no, I'm not a healer. I facilitate healing. The person that I'm working with is the healer. They heal themselves. Where that term, physician, heal thyself, came from. It's about, it's not up to someone else. It's up to you.
Yeah, I get concerned when I hear some people say, you know, I have the same therapist for 20, 30, 40 years. My thinking is, if a therapist has done the job to teach that person the skill, they should be working themselves out of, you know, a job in that sense.
Make yourself
You know,
redundant. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because when I deal with people, I say, you know, my task actually is to work with you the shortest time. So I make myself, be redundant, because, you know, it's help you to empower you with the tools you can help yourself. But if you have to keep seeing me over and over again, I've actually have failed, you know.
Exactly.
And that's not the message that seems to be. And people now got this. Some people go to a therapist. It's almost like a social do. You know, say, oh, you know, I must see my therapist next week. You know, it's like a social thing, rather than saying, you know, get the advice, arm the tools to help yourself. Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe if we can get the nutrition right, we can easily halve a lot of the problems. Because obviously you got people overweight being bullied, or underweight being bullied, and there's also aspects. And also, when you have more energy, you can think better. And some people are under stress all the time because they don't have any energy, and therefore that they put pressure on themselves. And so I'm very firmly, like Jeffrey, if we get the guts right and towards that, I'm sure we can not solve every problem, of course not, but we can significantly make a huge dent into all the other related problems. Lots of things trigger off one after the other.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Right.
So you just said
It's all
everything
linked to that vicious cycle, isn't it? That vicious cycle.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just getting started, just picking one area to start with. And if you really focus on that, everything else is going to follow in. Because if you focus on getting the food right, as Jeffrey was saying, then the end result is you're already starting to change the way you think. That's also having the impact on the chemicals there. Then you start looking at, you start feeling healthier. Then you go, okay, you feel like moving a bit more. So then you're starting to exercise. It's finding, it's not just changing everything, it's finding something and get started.
In some schools in the UK where they actually address the nutrition problem, they notice the behaviour in the children has significantly improved.
Yes.
There was a program by Jamie Oliver who tried to encourage schools to eat healthy, and there was one particular school. This particular parents actually say, "No, I was going against that," and they was taking orders to do the fast food shop in the. And she feels she was the champion, because she was actually not allowing the good food in the school, So also there's an ignorance as well. Some parents are very ignorant of the fact about nutrition, for whatever reason. And I firmly believe if we can address the nutrition education young enough, that also will make a difference. And then you put the emotional understanding, emotional intelligence, and learn to talk and communicate at a young age. Not to make a judgment, say who's right or wrong, but just to learn to listen and how to communicate, how to listen, how to respect other people's opinions, even if you don't agree with them. And I think that will significantly address a lot of the problems at the moment, the problem is growing in every single area. And I don't care how much money's been pumped into it, we're not going to solve it unless we have a really concerted effort across the government and everyone to attack the root problem at the youngest age possible.
I think Phil, I mean, you make some really awesome points there, but my belief is that we have to start below the government, and the people need to stand up for their own rights. And we're looking for those who are just sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired to say enough is enough. The system that we're in is not working. We need to do something different so we can get mentally and physically well. And we need to take that stand, because it's not going to happen at the government level. It's not going to happen at big pharma level. We have to take that stand. And it's just like what's going on with this COVID-19 and this big push to getting the vaccine. They're on this big push to making it mandatory that everybody get this vaccine. And we need to have choice. We have to have a choice. It's our
we'll see,
right.
Jeffrey will save the COVID-19 vaccine for a different video because I've got a lot to say about
But
that. I've got a lot to say about
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just talking in general, though. Just in general.
But yeah,
Sorry to
yeah, I totally agree with you, Jeffrey. And this is why I do what I do. I do panels like this, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's a three-way, or like this. I bring people on to stop this, find a way in stopping this stigma and discrimination. Now, I am so glad because my son has realised I have a passion for bringing change to mental health. And now he's only 8 years old. He's got autism as well. He wants to learn more about mental health.
Good.
So I have now informed his school that he wants to learn more about mental health. And they've actually recommended a book. I can't remember what it's called now. But it's a mental health book, which I can buy off Amazon. I think it's like £12 or something. I don't know. I'll have a look. But yeah, they was actually quite shocked that I've actually said that he wants to learn. But they're actually promoting that. And they're actually teaching it in. So I'm glad.
And that's a good thing about that is, first of all, the fact that, you know, children don't listen to what we say. They they take in what we do. And you've taken a particular lifestyle, a direction. Your son's picking up on that. So this is the rite of passage your son's starting to get in that particular area. So everything's connected. All of these things that we do have an impact. You know, if we know that if we feed kids particular foods, boom, they're off like a rocket straight away, almost instantaneous. So we know the fastest result we can get with anything is going to be what we ingest. So if we start to do that, but then we change our thinking. So the first thing, food will give a fast, quick response, and then our thinking changes. That then locks it in over the rest of our life. So this is why I keep looking at going, okay, what's going to be the trigger to get something started? What then's going to come in behind it to actually support that? And what's going to lock it in? So if we look at all these things and we realize everything we talked about today, for everybody who's out there, think about which one you can change yourself right now. If it's your thinking, change your thinking. But if you can say, right, I can look at my diet, do that. And then you'll watch the other stuff to start cascading in as well. It'll all connect.
And it's amazing what small changes you can make and how the human body reacts to those small changes, because the fast foods that we're eating, the boxed and the canned foods that have all these chemicals in, do impact our brain, and they cause brain fog. So it's like you don't know where you're coming or going. And once you start getting rid of that, you know, and I never knew what brain fog was. I do now because I had it, and I'm thinking much more clearly because I'm a plant-based protocol now. It makes total sense. So yeah, very good point, Alan, because it starts. What do you put in here? Because this is the beginning of what you nourish and provide down here.
I have a beautiful letter here. If I could read it out, it's regarding the COVID situation and homeschooling. So all the kids have been homeschooled, and it's written. It says it's with love from all the teachers on planet Earth. Dear parents, don't stress about schoolwork. In September, I'll get your children back on track. I'm a teacher, and that's my superpower. What I can't fix is social emotional trauma that prevents the brain from learning, and that relates to the diet as well. So right now, I just need you to share your calm, share your strength, and share your laughter with your children. No kids are ahead, no kids are behind. Your children are exactly where they need to be. And I thought that was a great letter. Been circulating. It says
Thank
it
you for
all.
sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing, Sharon. That's really nice.
It's a nice letter, isn't it? And it's not just about the kids who are homeschooling. It's about all of us and the whole mental health game. You know, how can we teach through diet, through exercise, through meditation, and through strategy? How can we teach more calm, more peace, good communication, as Philip said? You know, how can we lift our game, raise our vibration as a...
I think, Sharon, there was a report a long time ago, over 20 years ago, in the UK, the average time a father spend with their kids. And
Oh.
there's a 20, it was less than 30 seconds.
Ah!
You know,
Yeah.
so in this time of COVID, you know, the family are spending more time. So when the parents can actually just ask the children, how do you feel? Just ask simple questions. You know, that in itself is a huge step.
Yeah.
You know, the parents are actually spending quality time talking and listening to the children. How are you feeling today? You know, the simple things like that. That will make a huge impact. If we can then, as we come back to the lockout, if lots of parents can actually just spend that extra 3, 5, 10 minutes each day talking to children, that thing, I believe, will have a huge impact on their emotional stability, the self-confidence, you know, and learn to express themselves. A lot of the time now, a lot of children just do not know how to express themselves.
That's right.
And that is why they're putting so much stress on them. And that communication within the family is such a golden nugget right now.
And as you said, if that's only that 15 seconds is all the man is spending with their children, it shows that they're right out of practice as well. So you can imagine, understand now why with the COVID and the lockdown, that so much mental, suicides and domestic violence and everything have gone up, because you don't have a skill, and now you're in this situation 24/7, and you don't know how to communicate. So things get blown up again. So we need to treat society as a whole, not just as an individual. At the same time, Sharon, I know that we've got the teaching side of things. Yes, the kids will pick it up when they go back. Some of the kids have been doing brilliantly at home with their studies. Others have been struggling.
Yeah.
So it just goes to prove that the education system that just teaches in one particular way is not the right answer for our kids. Some kids would be better off staying at home and being homeschooled. Others would be better off going to the school, back into school. I know when it comes to doing online courses, time-wise, yes, I prefer to do online. But really, to get things done, I need to go and sit in a classroom. I prefer to do that.
Yeah.
But then, so everyone's going to be different. And this is the thing we've got to start realizing is everyone's an individual. Start treating people as an individual, not just have a system that everybody's got to be crammed into. Create a system that looks after the individuals. And the best way to do that, as it says, physician, heal thyself. Instead of saying, okay, the government's got to do this, everyone's got to do that, how about what I do for me?
Yeah, take charge.
Comes back to us first, take charge. We do it for ourselves, and everybody's doing it for themselves. The government, all these other people who are trying to tell us what to do, no longer have any power. You don't take take power away from them by having a massive movement. You do it as an individual. As Jeffrey said, those little small changes, take responsibility yourself. Make the change there. Other people around you, and the people around you, as they say, you are the sum of the 5 closest friends. We also know that if you start to change, those friends start to change as well. So you be the change in the environment that you want to see in the environment. Start it yourself. Everybody else then starts to change. Find people that understand that. If you get a coach, find one that talks to you about your thing, listens to you, tries to guide you in that. It's not about them. So make yourself the hub. You're the center of your wheel. You know, that bicycle wheel, it's got all the spokes, all those other things outside the spokes, but the hub is the thing that holds it together, and that's you. Start with you yourself. Make yourself the center of the whole thing. Bring the people in that support that, and the people who don't support it, ignore them. Whether that be governments, pharmaceuticals, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll wrap this up now, because I have to switch over to my phone, because I don't know what the hell's going on with the laptop these days. But yeah. But what we'll do is we'll wrap it up. What's the best advice you could give anyone who's listening now and thinking, what do we do now?
Which one will go, Sharon, first then?
Oh, thanks, Philip.
Yeah, go on then.
Look, I was just thinking as you spoke, Adam, I would say take a good, long, hard look at Adam Chelton. You know, I'm going to get all emotional now, but
Here we go.
1 year ago, this man was suicidal. And I think from the stories that we've heard today, some of us have been in that place too. Lots of people have been in that place. And it's a very dark and very lonely place. But Adam has picked up the pieces with the support of Alan and others, and Jeffrey and Philip and lots of people. But Adam has picked up the pieces and said, I want a better life for myself and for my family. What can I do? And he's done the studies. He's done his mental health studies. You don't have to study mental health. You can study other things. You know, you can study life coaching and heal yourself and then work with others. You can, you know, you can read some positive books about changing your life. You can look at your diet. You can look at your exercise, the whole package. But have a look at this man and how he has come from such a dark place to where he is now, hosting a program with, you know, with mental wellness experts. I think that's just kudos to you, mate.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm touched.
Yeah, and you can see, you should have saved me to last. But you can turn your life around. You can turn your life around in a few months. It's doable if you want to do it and get the help that you need.
Yeah. Phil?
Soapbox, passing on the soapbox now.
Well, I think that it's coming back to communication. Fine, for parents, please make time to speak to your children and allow them to share their thoughts, but don't be judgmental, whatever they say. Just accept that for the time being. In the case of people who are actually obviously are single parents and so on, find a group of kindred with people that you can openly talk to, just to share your problems and things. It's coming back to communication. Yeah, to keep that simple. I'll find a mentor, find an advisor that you can freely talk to. They're not going to be judgmental on you. And then I think that is a starting point.
Well said.
Alan?
Well, I think I already said it just before you asked for the final words on it. You know, starting on yourself and point it back to you as well. Here's a perfect example of somebody who's done exactly that. So you've led by example. We've talked about what people should be doing. You know, well, again, it's our opinion. It's up to each person out there to decide whether that's what they want to do. But yes, make yourself the focus and make the changes yourself. You know, don't let other people tell you that you're doing the wrong thing. Work out, take that time to think, well, what is it that I really want? Know yourself first of all, and then create and draw in the people around you that support that. As Philip said, the coaches who listen to you and all the rest of it, the ones who are there for you. If they're not there for you, move on to somebody else. You make yourself the focal point.
Jeffrey?
So, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm really humbled that to be amongst these amazing colleagues of yours. And I'm all about body, brain, biome. And I've learned so much about the importance of the microbiome and the significance it has to physical and mental wellness. For those that are interested, I mean, they can reach out to me. Is this being live streamed to Facebook?
No.
Okay.
What I'm going to do, once I've obviously downloaded it, I will be uploading it to Facebook tomorrow, but I'll also be uploading it to YouTube as well.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, people can reach out to me and I can direct them to certain articles, certain information, depending on what their need is. We do have a protocol here in the U.S. It's available in the U.S. and Mexico right now. Eventually, we will go international. But I just want you to keep an open mind because it's all about, we do, unfortunately, and fortunately have to take supplementation, the right supplementation, because we're missing a lot of the nutrients that are found, especially in the U.S. I can't talk about international, but here in the U.S., our nutrients are just basically depleted. So we've got that right supplementation that targets specific things. Then as Sharon said, we've got the exercise that helps with physical and mental on top of the nutrition. And then again, stress management. Stress management is anything from prayer, meditation, yoga, qigong, massage, or acupuncture, things like that. These are all different holistic modalities that make this temple that we live in, that we've been given, and we need to treat this temple the way it should be treated to be able to live synergistically healthy from a mental and a physical perspective. So thank you.
Absolutely. Fantastic words. My last bit of advice is, I think I can speak for all of us, where I say we've all had our demons who tried to bring us down, tried to end our life. Big words. They can be beaten. They can be broken. We're just living proof of it. We're human beings. You're human beings. Let's behave like them, and let's break the stigma.
Excellent.
Well said.
Well, thank
Here,
you all.
here.
Thank
Boom.
you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.